Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Una and I'm a glass artist based in Scotland. Today I'm going to be sharing my top 7 books that you have to read. These are life-changing, no exaggeration. Each one of these books has changed my life over the last 6 or 7 years. And I want to share them with you today because they could change your life too. So let's get started. Book number 7 is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. If you're a creative person, I'm willing to bet that you've encountered self-doubt, fear, and judgment at least at some point. This book can help you through that and also show you the spiritual and magical side of creativity. It's all about overcoming the obstacles that get in the way of us fulfilling our biggest creative potential. I love the way that Gilbert describes genius. I had no idea that the Romans described that creative people had a genius, not that they were geniuses. They thought of them as guardian deities that visited people. Somehow it felt like a weight of pressure had been taken off, because whether my work is celebrated or whether it was rejected, I'm kind of a step removed from it because it's also up to my genius. All I have to do is keep showing up, keep practicing, and maybe my genius will visit me, and maybe not. This book made me pay more attention when I was creating, and I started hearing timid voices trying to guide me as I worked. They told me when to stop, and even though I didn't always listen, and in the beginning I hardly ever listened, they were always right. This next one is probably going to sound a wee bit strange, but the biggest way that this book has helped me is in giving up on inspiration, or at least giving up on waiting for inspiration to strike before I start working. I've realised that for me, it's only after I've started working, whether that's researching, drawing, tidying the studio, but getting into some sort of creative practice, that inspiration and motivation show up. It's never before. So the key really is just to show up and get going. In at number 6 is The Kindness Method by Shahroo Izadi. Do you ever find yourself stuck in the same patterns or cycles of behaviour that you can't seem to break free from, no matter how hard you try and how desperately you want to? If so, this book is really going to help. Whether it's that you want to paint or write or make glass like me, if you just can't seem to get started, or there's something that you really want to stop doing, this book will help you find control and overcome whatever's holding you back. And even better, if you've got Amazon Prime, then you can get the ebook for free for this. Izadi teaches us how to have compassion and kindness for the mistakes that we've made or the things that are holding us back, so that we can overcome them and reach our potential. And if that sounds wishy-washy, then I promise you it's anything but. It can be really tough, this book, but it is so worth doing. I first saw Shahroo Izadi on Diary of a CEO, where she shared how she used kindness to lose 120 pounds of her own body weight. It's a great video, so well worth a watch after you've finished watching this. Her whole approach is about improving our overall resilience and self-esteem and building self-awareness, so that we can do the things that we want to do. I really love and admire that she shares stories from her own personal life, as well as from her professional life, where she's got a psychology degree and has worked in addiction and recovery. She really knows what works and what doesn't. So if you're curious or on the fence, give this book a shot. What have you got to lose? In at number 5 is the Like An Artist Trilogy by Austin Kleon. I really hope I'm saying that surname correctly. If you've ever worried that nothing you make is original, then you have to read or listen to this trilogy. It's practical, inspiring, funny, down to earth, and it'll expand your pool of inspiration, no matter what you create or what stage of the journey you're at. It's all about learning how to steal ingredients from all the work that you've ever loved, so that you can make your own soup that's unique to you and that'll feel fresh and new to your audience. I've got this on audiobook so that I can listen to it while I'm in the studio. It's narrated by Kleon, the guy that wrote it, and I always feel like I've caught up with a supportive friend when I've listened to these books. My favourite quote is, I'm going to read this. The people who get what they're after is very often the ones who just stick around long enough. It's very important not to quit prematurely. I keep reminding myself of that when I'm feeling stuck. It used to be with my glass making, but now it's more so with these YouTube videos. It's really tough to stick with something when what we have in our heads isn't what we're capable of making yet. That yet is important though. I love that this trilogy talks about money, demystifies the creative process, and doesn't glorify the starving artist trope, or artists that live fast and loose and die young. I always believed that I would never make it as an artist because I didn't want to live this crazy big life. But I feel reassured that I can still make it even though I want to live a quiet life in the Scottish countryside. In at number 4 is Art and Fear by David Bayles and Ted Orlan. It doesn't matter if you're new to creating or already a seasoned pro. We all have fears about some aspects of our work. If you feel creatively blocked or lost, this book will help you feel seen so that you can keep on going. It's an encouraging and relatable guide to see you through the tough times. It's all about how we make art and why so many of us struggle to do it, and why some of us stop and some of us quit altogether. It was recommended to me by ceramic artist Janine Wadby. I hope I'm saying that name right too. It was at Potfest, as in pottery, not anything else, at Scone Palace in Perth in Scotland a few years ago. Her work is so beautiful. My husband bought me one of her pieces for my 30th birthday that year, and every time I look at it, I remember our conversation and how kind she was to me. I was really struggling at that point with my glass making. I didn't like what I was making, and I didn't really believe that I was capable of doing the sort of things that I dreamed of doing, the sort of things that I'm doing now. She encouraged me to read this book, and I'm so grateful that she did. It was just what I needed. It said things that I'd felt but didn't have words for yet. I don't have an art degree. I didn't even take art at school because I just didn't think I was creative. So this book gave me a path to follow when I was stuck and unsure. It gave me friendship and mentorship for the times where I felt alone, lost, anxious and stuck. Now there are so many great quotes in this book that I want to share with you. I think every single page of my ebook has a highlight in it, but I'm going to share my top 3. The first one is, fears about making art fall into 2 families. Fears about yourself and fears about your reception by others. Fears about yourself prevent you from doing your best work, while fears about your reception by others prevent you from doing your own work. Second one is, while you might feel like you're pretending that you're an artist, there is no way to pretend that you're making art. And the last one, the one that I love, sing the song of your heart, and sooner or later, the world will accept and reward the authentic voice. As a result of this book, I got the courage to change what I was making and to think that maybe, just maybe, I could start to think of myself as an artist. I'd been calling myself a glass maker for years, avoiding calling myself an artist, and this was just mind-blowing in the best way. About a year after I'd finished reading this book and had changed what I was making, I attended my first exhibition that had work in it at the gallery Artisanand in Aberfeldy. And now, a few years after that, that same gallery, Artisanand, is going to be representing my work at Edinburgh Art Fair in just a couple of weeks, which is amazing, and I am so nervous and so excited. So this book, I really can't understate how life-changing it's been. In at number 3 is Designing Your Life by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. Do you ever dream of having a totally different life or feel totally lost in your life as it is? This book encourages you to get imaginative so that you can create a life that fits who you are and the things that are most important to you. I think this quote sums it up perfectly. A well-designed life is a life that makes sense. It's a life in which who you are, what you believe, and what you do all line up together. This book gets you to figure out what exactly it is about your ideal life or daydream life that's so appealing. It uncovers when you feel happiest and most energized so that you can wrangle away to get more of what you want and less of what you don't want. The first time that I completed this book, I was depressed. I was working in the call centre and I felt hopeless. and this book helped me imagine a life where joy and creativity were at the centre. It was an escape from the drudgery, and I loved imagining the wild, exciting lives that I could lead. The exercise that I loved most was where you design your 3 different lives. You give each one a title. Here's an example from the book of one of the titles: Leading a Pirate Surf Camp. This book gave me the confidence to quit that job at the call centre and go back to uni to do a postgrad in wildlife biology and conservation. But I don't recommend that you do what I did. See, I missed out a crucial step where you test things out before committing lots of time and money to anything. I didn't do that and spent a lot of time and money on stuff that could have been avoided if I just followed all the steps. I think subconsciously I'd thought that if I just found the right subject to learn, that I would find my people a sense of belonging and friendship. And if I'd realised that rather than it being subconscious, then I could have done more to get that need fulfilled in other ways. Now, that's not a reason to skip this book. It's genuinely brilliant and so much fun to do. I just thought I'd share my cautionary tale so that you don't make the same mistake that I did. In at number 2 is How to Be an Artist by Jerry Saltz. If you ever feel lonely when you're making your art and you want the wisdom of a supportive mentor, then this is the book for you. I listened to this audiobook on repeat for weeks at a time without ever getting tired of it. It's full to bursting with creative ideas to try out, has advice from someone older, wiser, and maybe just a wee bit jaded. If you're like me and haven't been to art school, I think you'll find this really helpful. It's got loads of exercises to try out. One that I've not tried out yet that I'll be doing in the lead up to Christmas, because I do a sort of journal recap at the end of each year because I love to look back on it. Let me know if you want to hear more about that, because maybe we could do it together this year. Anyway, the exercise is to draw a train with 12 carriages. You don't need to draw the engine, just draw the 12 carriages, and in each carriage put the name of an artist that you somehow feel connected to. Label the tracks, label the background, label as much as you want, colour it in, whatever you like. And then after a few years, make a huge train and amalgamate all the carriages and the visuals and the backgrounds and everything and the labels that you've given the tracks, because it'll be a snapshot of all your desires. I love the idea of that because I love to look back on things to see how they've emerged and developed, which is why I started that kind of recap journaling thing. I've got a couple of like jewel encrusted books that are so tacky and I love them so much that I've been filling in since about 2017, I think, and I just love it, and I love looking back on them. I've gone off on a tangent again, so I'll get back on track. This book never fails to motivate me and get me out of whatever creative funk that I might be in. It's both incredibly supportive and a proper kick up the arse to get back to work. My favourite quote from the book is, "Art is the simultaneous coexistence of change and stability. It's always with us, but never the same." I appreciate the real life wisdom from someone who's been around the block and has experience that I can learn from. Even when I've got it playing while I'm in the studio and I think it's just background noise, sometimes certain bits stand out to me, and not the same bits either. It's always pearls of wisdom that I needed to hear in that moment. And this is the book that's guided me through all my disappointments as an artist, when my work's not been as good as I thought it would be. And it's also got me to pay attention to all the voices that try and advise me while I'm working. Voices that say, be bolder, add more colour, or when to hold back. Voices that say when I can push a slump firing just a little bit further, and when to get that kiln crashing as soon as possible. Finally, the number 1 spot for books I think everyone who's creative should read is Embrace Your Weird by Felicia. This book is truly for everyone. If there's one book that I had to say, yes, go out, grab it, get it for yourself, get it for your friends, get it for anyone in your life that's creative, it's this book. It doesn't matter if you're newly creative, a seasoned pro, you're just kind of thinking about maybe getting started, whether you're a writer, a painter, glass artist, singer, poet, musician, it doesn't matter. This book is really, truly for everyone. It's about unlocking our creative potential in a fun, playful, light-hearted, and just lovely way. So if you're wanting to break loose, get playful, get light-hearted, if you need a break from the seriousness of your normal work, if you want a daily practice, this book is perfect. You can dip in and out of it whenever you want, do as much or as little as you want, and it's just really good fun. I love it so much. I've actually just ordered a few more copies. I wouldn't normally do that, but this book, it just makes me feel so happy when I'm doing it, and even just thinking about it makes me smile. I first did it in 2019, and I can't wait to get my new copies in so that I can do another one now. If you want to do it along with me, let me know in the comments and I'll wait for you to order your copy and we can kind of do it together. Or if you want to see what it's like, then let me know and I'll show you a bit more of it when I get my new copies in. I also really wanted to have a couple of spares so that I can come back to it in the future, because I know that this book is going to be one that I just try again like years down the line. This book is funny, fun, uplifting, and surprisingly meaty to get into. It's about letting your creative self out to play, having fun, and getting to know your creativity a bit more. It's a great mix of letting loose, but also doing some soul searching. And it's not heavy going either, because even for the soul searching, it's kind of done in a light-hearted, funny way, which is just perfect. My favourite exercise is right at the start of the book, where you have to really badly draw a horse. I'm terrible at drawing, but I really love this drawing. It says not to share it, but I'm going to share it with you all because I just love it so much. I've never written in a book before, and so I was so scared to do it. It felt somehow disrespectful, but once I got started, I couldn't stop. It got me totally in the spirit of the thing, and I think that's why it's my favourite one, because it really encourages you to let loose, to show up exactly as you are, and to just let it out, let your creativity fly. And I did. I could not stop once I'd started drawing. I scribbled in the whole rest of the book. I crossed out sections and I scribbled over things. And it was just so much fun. It was so freeing to just break the rules, and I found that afterwards ideas were coming to me unbidden and I felt less kind of creatively blocked up. I felt like all ideas could come out, and even if they were terrible ideas, it didn't matter. Everything was allowed, everything was welcome. Oh, if you can grab a copy of this book, then do, because it is so good. And if you've done it before, let me know in the comments. I feel like this one is probably one of the less heard of ones, and I know that you'll love it if you give it a shot. So that's it for my 7 books that I want to recommend to you today. Were there any that you were surprised by, or any that you were screaming at me, this should be on the list? Let me know in the comments. I'm always looking for a next read. And let me know as well, are you more of an audiobook person, or do you like to actually read it? I kind of, for fiction and things like that, I tend to prefer reading it, but on ebook, just because it's easier to take books everywhere I go that way. But for anything creative or that I want to have on in the studio that will kind of keep me company, then I tend to prefer audiobooks these days. But let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video. Hope you're having a great Sunday. Bye!